Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com.
You know, it's so easy to think that once a project is implemented, it's done. But what if I told you there's a huge difference between a change being finished and a change being successful? Today, we're going to talk about the one step that makes all the difference, the post-implementation review, or PIR.
Okay, so picture this. Your big project is finally live. The new process is up and running, everybody's been trained, all the boxes are checked. It feels like it's time to pop the champagne, right? Well, not so fast. The real question, the one that really matters, is how do you actually know it's working?
To really get why this is so important, let's walk through a scenario that happens way more often than you'd think. It's the classic story of a project that looked absolutely perfect on paper, but was hiding a major flaw that could have brought the whole thing crashing down. So, our story kicks off with a quality assurance team doing their thing. They've got the change closure package right there in front of them, and they're going through the final checklist. Everything looks clean, professional, totally buttoned up. As they're flipping through the documents, it's just a sea of green check marks. All the actions marked complete. The official standard operating procedure, the SOP, yep, it's been updated. And, most importantly, the training records show every single person is up to speed. It looks perfect. On the surface, this is a slam dunk, a textbook implementation ready to be signed, sealed, and filed away forever. But then, the QA team noticed something wasn't there. Just a small omission, but one that could have massive consequences. And that's it. That's the missing piece. There was no plan, no data, not a shred of evidence that a post-implementation review ever happened. See, the team had confirmed the change was implemented, but they had absolutely no idea if the change was actually effective out there in the real world. So here's the question we have to ask. Is this just a little paperwork slip-up, a simple administrative oversight? Or is this a fundamental failure of the entire change control process? The answer is pretty clear. It's a major failure, no question. Because without that final review, you've left the door wide open for all kinds of trouble to sneak in. Let's really dig into what's at stake here. This brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. The goal isn't just to implement something, it's to achieve what we call sustained control. And what that really means is you have proof, actual proof, that your change is working day in and out, under real conditions, and it isn't secretly breaking something else. And when you don't check for sustained control, this is the kind of stuff that happens. All of a sudden, you're seeing new, weird errors pop up out of nowhere. Key performance metrics that were rock solid might suddenly start trending in the wrong direction. And that shiny new process that worked perfectly in a controlled test, yeah, it might totally fall apart in the chaos of a normal workday. And hey, if the internal risks aren't enough to make you nervous, just imagine an external inspector sitting across the table from you. I promise you, this is one of their absolute favorite questions. They don't care about your implementation plan. They want to see the cold, hard data that proves your change actually worked long after the project team moved on. So, how do you avoid this nightmare scenario? How do you give that inspector the exact answer they're looking for? Well, it's actually not that complicated. It all boils down to a simple but really powerful three-step process for a proper PIR. Here it is. It's these three things. First, you figure out your success criteria before you even begin. Second, you set a specific time frame to watch and collect data. And third, you write it all down, your findings and your final decision. Let's break each of those down real quick. Step 1 is all about knowing what a win actually looks like. Are you trying to cut down on customer complaints, lower your deviation rate, maybe improve stability? You have to define these specific, measurable things right from the start. This isn't some vague, let's see if things feel better exercise. It's a data-driven mission. Next up, step 2, setting that review window. So how long do you need to monitor things? Well, it all depends on the risk. For a really simple, low-risk change, maybe 30 days of data is plenty. But for a big, high-risk change that could have ripple effects, you're going to want a much longer window, maybe even 90 days, to be absolutely sure it's stable. And finally, you have to document everything. This piece of paper is your proof. It needs to have your original plan, the data you looked at, and most importantly, your final decision. Based on the evidence, are you going to stick with the change, maybe make a few adjustments, or, and this is a perfectly valid choice, roll it back completely? Whatever you decide, you've got to document why. Okay, let's bring it all home and get back inside the mind of that inspector. Because at the end of the day, this entire process is about answering one fundamental question that they are always going to ask. Here's the key takeaway, the whole thing in a nutshell. The common mistake is closing the book on a change the second it goes live. The right move is keeping that book open until you have proven sustained control after that date. It seems like a small shift in timing, but it's a massive shift in mindset. And remember, inspectors are trained to hunt for evidence. A signature on a form that just says implementation complete, that means almost nothing to them. What they want to see is the PIR report. They want the data, the charts, the analysis, the objective proof that your change wasn't just finished, it was a genuine success.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own process. Is it just a bureaucratic exercise in checking boxes, or is it a real system designed to actually prove that you are in a state of sustained control? Because the answer to that question makes all the difference in the world.
Thank you for watching. If this helped, like and subscribe. More GMP scenarios coming.